and I think the reception is better if people switch off their cameras as well. When you speak, if you put it on, then it's much better. So it would help the quality of the hearing, I think. That's what I've been told anyway. So can I welcome everybody to tonight's Ward Forum meeting, Tyseley at Haymills online forum meeting. So this meeting is recorded. Online meetings will be advised. So, later on there'll be a link that we can give people if they want to watch it on later. I've just checked with Beverly today because, the last meeting I haven't had the link yet. I did say I would send it out, but I haven't sent the link out as yet. As soon as I get the link, I will forward that link on to people if they want to watch the previous 3-4 meetings we've had. So, are there any apologies or anything? I haven't had any apologies from anybody. So what we're going to do is on the agenda, we got a full agenda. So what I'll start with is the COVID-19 information update. So Mary's here from Head of Service for Test and Trace. So can I get Mary to come in first and just give us an update on the COVID-19 situation, please? Mary?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Yes, it's Mary O'Reilly here from Public Health. So I'll just give you a quick I'll do a quick canter through and I'll take any questions. So just to provide some context, it's about a year since we started on our COVID journey as a nation and as a city. And 1 year on, we've come an awful long way. We've learned a lot. A lot has happened, and we are still very much in a pandemic situation. So the case rate, we usually have a case rate we base on a population of 100,000. Obviously, Tyseley Haysmills is a population of about 12,000. But the reason we base it on 100,000 is that way it's easy to compare where we are with other parts of the country or indeed other cities. So Birmingham, if I start with the Birmingham picture, is at 86 per 100,000. So for every 100,000 people, there are 86 cases in the previous 7 days. Obviously, for a city of 1.2 million, that adds up to a fair number. The comparison for this ward is 59. So it's running considerably lower than the city average, which is good. So again, back to our city. So that's where Birmingham's at the moment in the West Midlands. We're not at the top. We've got some other places like Stoke-on-Trent and Sandwell that are higher, but there are other areas, other local authorities that are doing better. And so we're looking to see what they're doing and what, if any of that would apply to us. So coming to also look at us by core cities, which is another of our comparators. We've got other cities such as Leeds, there's a higher, and Nottingham, but likewise we've got Liverpool and Bristol that are lower, and Birmingham is somewhere in the middle. So coming down to Tyseley Haysmills specifically, out of the 69 wards in Birmingham, this ward is ranked at 55. So we're 55 out of the 69, where 1 is the highest and obviously 69 is the lowest. In the past 7 days, for the period that we're reporting on, we've had 7 cases. As I say, that's significantly lower than the Birmingham average, but there are still things that would apply to us all. Just to get a sense of where we're seeing those cases from an age perspective, the majority are in what we would call the typical working age. So that's between 20 and 60. That would account for over 70% of the cases that we're seeing. And that has been the situation in much of the city for the last few months. Obviously, we're now in a national lockdown situation. So although that is starting to ease with schools going back this week, the majority of people who have to leave their homes, other than for food and absolutely essential stuff, are people who have to go out to work at the moment. And that's reflected in the routes of transmission that we then get back. In terms of who within the ward is getting this, other than age, 42% Asian ethnic group, 6% Black, and 29% white ethnic group. And I think that shouldn't be a surprise given the demographic mix of the ward. The next thing I'd probably want to touch on is our testing. So as you know, we've got testing for people who are symptomatic. There are drive-through facilities, 2 in the city. There are facilities that you then walk through. We've got another 10 of those. And increasingly for people who are not symptomatic but who wish to get tested, we've also got asymptomatic testing. Some of those are fixed locations, some of those are mobile, and we are rapidly approaching the 100 mark for our community pharmacies who will be able to offer this. So the idea is that there will be access, much more local access to asymptomatic testing for people who need to do that as part of their assurance to go out to work and continue with current functions at the moment. Moving on, just touching on businesses. So there is an offer from the government. Initially, it was for businesses over 50 employees. Now that's broader. And the idea is that we get in the habit of testing and safely being sure that we are safe at work, but safe to go to work. I think the expectation is that most people would test twice a week to get that assurance. And as I've already alluded to, schools have reopened this week, and there is a whole raft of testing to support the safe return to school of our school children and staff. Touching on local contact tracing, obviously this goes on. There's a national test and trace program, some of you may be familiar with, but there is also a locally enhanced system. And what the local enhanced system does is it will phone people locally who perhaps have not responded to the national program so that we can quickly find out who they've been in contact with, advise them to isolate and provide advice. In combination with a welfare check, provide advice on where they might get support if it's needed, such as isolation payments or other practical support. So there's lots of signposting that happens there. At the moment, the response rate we're getting is over 50% in the first instance, and it goes up to 80% by the time we include our partners. So some of our environmental health colleagues, some of the fire and rescue service, we go knocking on doors just to reach those people who haven't previously responded. So if you get a phone call, I appreciate you may have had a phone call from the National Test and Trace, but if you haven't responded with the information, that comes through to us and we will try and reach you again. Just touch on transmission very quickly. So the main mode of transmission at the moment, there seems to be household transmission. Household transmission simply means one person in the household gets coronavirus, and then over a period of weeks, we notice that actually other members of the household get it. This is not inevitable, and there is really simple and good advice about what you can do to prevent that. It's worth mentioning because if every time one person in the household gets it, the whole house comes down with it, that's going to keep our numbers up. So although not everyone's going out and about at the moment, we still have to be vigilant about, even within our homes, washing our hands, not touching our faces, etc. And if one person has COVID, finding ways to isolate that person, practical steps like who uses the bathroom, the order in which we use it, etc., who uses the kitchen, so that transmission doesn't go to the whole household. The second place, but by a distant second, is transmission in the workplace. And the feedback we're getting when we investigate situations, clusters and outbreaks, is that people are being really vigilant most of the time, and then they let their guard slip. So it might be they take a break and they forget that they're actually in a room having lunch and talking, or they've been really vigilant all day and a colleague is leaving and they huddle together, to exchange a card and a present. It's those sorts of situations. So what we're asking for people who are at work, going out to work at the moment, and those who in the coming weeks will go out to work as our restrictions are eased, is that we remain vigilant. I know it's a big ask, but it really is important. So moving on to our COVID champions. I've got to do a plug for our COVID champions, but we are working with lots of other community groups as well. Anyone over 18 can become a COVID champion. You need to live or work in Birmingham. You do not have to live in Birmingham. It's live or work in Birmingham. And the idea is that we will have members of the public who sign up to become champions. We can then pass on reliable, trusted information to them, but we can also get reliable and trusted information back as to what is and isn't working with regards to COVID, testing, tracing, isolation payments, etc. And we can influence things. The second thing I'd mention with regard to COVID champions is that there is a number that we're aiming for at the moment in this, oops, I'm just trying to change scheme. In this ward, we need a few more. So to be representative, I'd say we're trying to get our numbers up. At the moment, we've got 5 COVID champions. We do need more. So another half a dozen would be really good. If there's anyone listening today, it's really, really simple. It's not onerous. Yes, there are webinars and there are fora that you can attend, but it is a way of you knowing the information that goes out every week. It's kept up to date and you'd be informed. So I'd really appreciate it if you'd consider that. Last but not least, I just want to touch on vaccination. As you know, the vaccination program being rolled out is being rolled out by the NHS. So this is not a council run scheme. This is an NHS run scheme. That said, we've had a really, really good uptake in the city. At the moment, 61% of eligible individuals have taken up their first dose. So we're talking nearly 400,000 people. We're a city of 1.2 million, and we haven't finished all the priority groups. So far, we've had a really good response. It's been better in some areas than others. And I'm just quickly scanning to see what the situation is in this ward. So in this ward, it's currently at 52% of people who've taken up their first dose. So in that regard, it's a bit lower than we've seen elsewhere in the city. And there could be lots of reasons for that. So, as you know, just to touch on some of the priority groups, we started with people who are oldest at over 80, and then over sort of 75, over 70, over 60. At the moment, people who are 50, 60, 59 are being asked to get in touch via the national portals to book, and our primary care partners, NHS partners, are still vaccinating people who are over 60, but will increasingly start to move to the next category. So I think vaccination is one where I would strongly recommend, no surprise coming from me, that if you're offered the vaccine, you take it. For those who have reservations and have doubts or want further information, the Birmingham and Solihull CCG have an excellent website, which I'd recommend. You can take a look there. And if there are questions, there have been several fora, but there are still opportunities for questions and concerns. If you find the information is not provided on the website, to feed that back to the CCG. At that stage, I think I'll probably pause and take any questions.
Thank you, Mary. Can I just thank you for taking the time out and giving us a briefing, which was very thorough and very useful for our board, and we got all the facts and figures. And I'd just like to say that, you know, since we've had the board forum meeting, Dr. Wani and his team have always attended and always have given us a full update on our board. You mentioned COVID champions. I am one of the COVID champions as well. I encourage people to join that because you get really useful information, and it's trusted information that comes out. And if there are any people who are interested, like Mary said, you would be welcome to join that. I can't see any hands up at the moment, but if there is anybody who's got a question for Mary, this is the time to ask. I can't see any hands. Okay, so can I thank you, Mary, for taking the time out to come in this evening, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much for your time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to the agenda, Census 21 information update, and we got Aisha Rahman, who is the engagement manager for Central Birmingham, to give us an update. So it is very important that we take part in these census. I've already used it on social media and things like that. There's a lot of campaigns going out there. So I'll hand over to Aisha, and then if there's any questions, we'll take them. Aisha, over to you.
Oh, hi, hi everyone, and thank you for allowing me to be on this platform. So, so my name's Aisha Rahman, and I work for the Office for National Statistics. And the main role that I have is to sort of create the awareness of the census in the Birmingham community, predominantly central Birmingham. So I just want to sort of do a little snapshot of what the census is and how it can benefit you and the benefits to you in completing it. So, so I'll start with what the census is. So the census is a survey that takes place every 10 years, and everyone is expected to take part in it. So the ONS is responsible for conducting the census in England and Wales. And Scotland and Northern Ireland do have their own census, but it won't be happening this year. And the census is very important because it gives the most detailed information that you can obtain about society as we know it and the society that we live in. So just to let you know a little bit about the census data. So a lot of people will be nervous about completing the census, or they're unsure, and they may well think that the data goes somewhere or it's not secure. So that the data's kept, the personal data is very, very safe and it's secure. So before we publish any statistics, we make sure that they don't include any personal information. Now, the information we collect in the census remains anonymous for 100 years, and everyone must complete the census as it was legislated by law. And the modern census was made a legal obligation in 1920. So when you complete your census form, whether you do it online or in the paper form, you will put your personal details in writing on that particular form. But when the ONS abstracts the content of it, the only thing that we're really interested in is the statistics of it, so the actual data of stats, because that's the stats that give us a snapshot of society to be able to plan and shape society for the next 10 years. Now, the census provides so many different things to the government, the statistics do, for everything that we do in our day-to-day life. So what it does is it shapes all the policies that we have in our country. It allocates resources and funding to the various areas and the various communities based on what quantity of people live in that particular area. It plans services and it monitors equality. Businesses use it to decide where to set up, which in turn then recreates jobs in the right areas because it knows the quantity of the population in that particular area. And charities also use that census information to help get funding for what they need. And sometimes places of worship will use it as also for what they need in the particular area. It's also used for public health and social care. So it allocates information to be used to inform the service demand, and it will also identify pockets of health deprivation and to support future care and planning. It looks at census data is used for information in local housing, and it also looks at affordability, so having the right houses in the right place at the right price. It'll look at education, and it will factor in pupil forecasting, and it will look at how many teachers it will need and how many schools it will need over the next 10 years, because it will study the population and the growth of the population. It looks at transport, and it will use that data for funding for bids on road improvements and inform planning and profiles around transport. And it then also factors in all the emergency services that we use on a day-to-day service, day-to-day, and that could be emergency services, hospitals, doctors, dentists, libraries, waste collection and disposal. So our day-to-day society is based on the census. So it's so vital that people do complete it. What we find is that 75% in the past censuses, that 75% of the population will voluntarily complete the census, but there'll be 25% of the population that may not complete it because they don't understand it, or they don't know what factors in, or how it affects them and how it matters to them. So the actual census takes place on Sunday, the 21st of March. So it's just a little bit shy of a week away, just over a week away. But you will be getting your forms, or a paper form if you fall into an area where the digital access is limited, or you may get a letter that has an access code on. So the access code is a code that will allow you to go online and complete your census. So it's the first time that the UK and Wales is taking part in a first digital census. And it will take you 10 minutes to fill it in for your particular household, and up to 10 minutes for each person that lives in your household. This is if you do the digital form. You can request the paper form, and there is a number that you can call and request the traditional paper form if you wish. But some addresses in certain areas and certain wards in Birmingham will automatically get the paper form if they fall under the criteria of having difficulty to get on digital access, or they don't have internet access. And we'll always be we've been focusing on engaging with people and groups that are underrepresented, or as what we define as a hard to reach group. So these are the groups where language could be a barrier, religion, ethnicity, lack of support in their surrounding areas. So my job since September has been to engage with different communities and just create that awareness and work with those sort of leaders. So for instance, I've worked with mosque leaders, I've worked with community leaders, I've worked with councillors to kind of get the word out there, to just encourage the communities to complete it, and for the citizens to complete it as well. So at this precise moment in time, we're in what we call the Act Now phase. So the Act Now phase is to actually go ahead and complete your census. So you have between now and Sunday the 21st to do it, including Sunday the 21st. But there's nothing to stop you from going online and doing it now if you wish. If you know who's going to be in your property on Sunday the 21st or the night of Sunday the 21st, and it's not going to change between now and then, you can just go ahead and complete it. If you're unsure who's going to be in your property on Sunday the 21st, then you wait till that day to complete it. You all may have or may be getting over the next day or so that letter with the access code, or a form with your details on. And as I say, you can get the paper form by calling 0800 141 2021, which I'll put in the chat room message shortly, along with my contact details. Now, you may have seen there'll be a big media campaign that's actually active, and that's promoting the census both in media and social media. And you'll see TV programs that are talking about it as well. And as I said, we are working very closely within the community, albeit in a socially distanced manner, and virtually all our engagement has been done virtually. We would have been a lot more active in the community if it wasn't for COVID, but unfortunately, this hasn't. The situation hasn't helped. Now, help is available for people who need the support to take part online if they're struggling, and you can get this help by visiting our website, which is www.census.gov.uk, and there's a tab at the top which is called the Help section. When you click on that, there's various tabs that you can then click on to get support, and there is language support as well on there. So if you want the instructions in a specific language, you just go to the language and accessibility tab and it will take you in. And there's also tabs on there for people that have disabilities, so it could be people to help people read it in Braille, and there's BSL, the British Sign Language help as well, so where you can get that from if you need it. So we just really want to sort of get a good return on it, and we can't do that without you. completing it, and we can't get you what you want in the future without you completing it. So to make it relative to you, if you live in a particular area and your children can't get a place in a particular school because the schools are full or there's a long waiting list, it's more reason in that area that everybody does their census, because that's how the information is found. If you have a particular need for a community centre and you've been pitching and you've wanted this thing and you can't get it, or it's for a specific ethnicity and you can't get it, it's so important that people do it. This is your real life sort of things that you get in your day-to-day life. It's not just a conventional form that you fill out. It goes to the side and it has no benefit. It has a huge benefit when it comes to allocating the resources in the right area. And you as a community have a right to those resources, and it's your right to ask for them, but you can ask for them if there's a true capture of the population in specific areas. Now, I'm happy for anybody to come to me directly if they needed any support to help them complete the census, so I will put my details in the chat box. I'm happy to conduct any events that you might want, where you might want to gather a few people and help them to complete the census, and I can talk through how the form is and the various paragraphs that you may not know what to answer or how to answer. And we've got people that work with me that speak specific languages as well, so we can get you a one-to-one language support if you wish. And I will also put my my Twitter handle in the chat box and the census website. So if you want to go on there, there's lots of information, and you can follow me on Twitter and share my content so that we can share it in the extended community. And just want to sort of say thank you for listening. I am happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Aisha. That was really helpful, and yeah, that was really useful information that you gave out there. There was a hand raised. I don't know which. Let me just check. There was a hand raised somewhere. Yeah.
Daniel Abbas.
Daniel Abbas, do you want to come in and ask a question?
Have you asked? Is going to ask it or? Okay.
Daniel, are you able to ask the question, or do you want?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, Zafar, this is me, Banu. I am using my mobile.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay.
I have just a quick question that, you know, the people who are living as asylum seekers, or
Yeah.
they are waiting for their decision from Home Office, or maybe
Yeah.
there are some people who are living illegally. How
Yeah.
comfortable they should be to fill that census?
Okay.
Yeah. So.
I'll let Aisha answer
Yeah.
that.
So yeah, they should absolutely answer that census. So if they live in a particular house, and they will get a form for that house. So whoever's the leader in that house, or someone can fill it on behalf of them. They will put their details, even if they're not supposed to be here or they're here illegally. This isn't about us finding who's here. So that data is what we need to know. So when they put their ethnicity, their name, their address and everything, that physical data, as in name, address and phone numbers and everything, is held securely for 100 years. And that's released after 100 years. But the statistic of it is what we need to get those people the resources. So there's no fear for them to be caught or penalized or benefits to be affected or anything like that. You know, they are encouraged to complete it because they live here. And if they live here, they have a right to the resources that are here.
Thank you, Aisha. That was really helpful. I mean, there is some misinformation and, you know, things in the community saying that, you know, this is spying and they're gathering this information and all that sort of stuff. So what I would urge is that, you know, this is to do with planning for public services and services for the community. So, you know, we should take part in this. And if there's anybody who needs help, Asha has said that she's available. I think Nicola has put in the chat that Disability Resource Centre are available to help as well. Nicola
Yeah.
asked a question. Nicola, do you want to ask that question? I'm not very good with this catching up with the chat in the box.
That's okay.
Yeah. Would
Well,
you like to pick the question up?
Yeah, just to reassure people, Aisha, I'm sure this is true, that the information is also used to improve our public transport and pavements and cycle routes. It's not just about roads and cars, is it?
No, it's everything. It's absolutely everything. So everything that we use in our day-to-day society to survive, as we do, it's all the data and statistics are captured from the census. So it's not just the government that uses it, so all other organizations will use it, and that data becomes public. The statistics of the data become public 12 months after census year. So and then the actual details in name and address, that's released every 100 years. But yeah, everyone, you'll be surprised at how many people use the data from the census. It's used in so many areas of life, and it's the things that we use day to day.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. Andy, do you want to ask a question? Andy Brown?
Yes, I just wanted to say that we do apply for quite a lot of grant funding, and we do bring quite a lot of money into the ward, and for us to apply for those grants, the census data is absolutely vital, and so people shouldn't underestimate the impact they're having by filling it in and taking part. We really do need that data, and it does bring lots of money and extra resources into the ward. So I just ask people to fill it in.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's so very true. And the biggest thing is, I think a lot of people probably don't complete it because it is a misconception and a myth that data is exposed and everybody sees it, and the personal data. It cannot be exposed to anybody because of GDPR. It's held securely by the ONS, and then the ONS will give the statistics to the government for them to forward plan. But that doesn't include any personal data. And I think that is the biggest thing that stops people from maybe completing it or not understanding what it's used for.
Thank you, Aisha. That was really clear. And I think a lot of people have understood that.
Yes.
Somebody's got their mic.
So,
if you
can
mute your mic.
Having been right on for a year.
Okay, if you can mute your mics, thank you. So I was saying the video that you sent this morning or this up, I think it was yesterday, about different languages. I mean, that was quite useful because I put that up on my social media, and we're getting a lot of response. I think from the council's point of view, I think every councillor in the city has, invited people from your department to different board meetings. Every faith group, the church groups, mosque, and everybody's doing so. It is really good information, and as a board councillor, I would urge everybody to take part. And there is support out there for people who can't. Disability Resource Centre, Aisha's department. So there is support. If people need support in filling these forms in or accessing them, please get in contact with either of them or me, and I'll put you in touch with them. So
I will put, just let you know, I will put all my contact details in the chat box, and I'll forward my details to the councillor as well for you to then just forward them on in an email.
That's very kind of you, Aisha. Thank you for your time and your presence at this meeting. It's been really
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, moving on to local news and updates. I've got them in a different order, but if there's anybody who's in a hurry to go, I would take them first. But my council's report, I've sent in a written report to everybody who attends the meeting. So if you haven't got my report, you can let me know in the chat, or let me know and I'll send it to you. It's a written report that I do before every meeting that I sort of attend. So it's quite a lengthy report. I won't go through everything that I've been doing. It's kind of I've started doing a graph of all my casework. So I've started putting down all the different kind of casework I'm getting, and I'm trying to put it in a graph so that people can see what I'm doing, what kind of casework I'm doing. At the moment, the biggest casework I have is fly tipping. So as you can see from the report that I presented, I've had 68 instances that I've reported and had lifted in the last 3 months, I think, or 68 this month actually, and then in last month we had 37. The month before we had 47 and 48. So fly tipping is the main biggest issue, and I talk about it in length in my report. And in this year's budget, the council has approved some money to get wardens and to get more CCTV and enforcement and all that sort of stuff. So there is going to be a pilot, I think, this month where we're going to have 3 wards that the highest, where the problem is the highest. They're going to trial it there, and then we're going to trial it out. Housing, waste department, antisocial behaviour. These are the kind of things that regularly I deal with all the time. I attend. Obviously, I have a virtual advice bureau every Friday if people want to attend, because I used to have one every Friday, walk in, no appointment, but because of COVID, we can't do that until we go back to the old system. I still got a virtual weekly meeting going on every Friday. This is my 4th board forum meeting, I think, that we are holding today. The full council meetings, obviously, I attend. Housing, John Dunleavy is here. I have a meeting with John Dunleavy and his senior manager every month regarding housing issues. And I've talked about some of the housing issues that we got, and I'm sure John will, touch on those. We got the police. We got Laura here today. Adrian's, I think, on holiday this week. So, I have regular meetings with the police as well. And I'd like to thank the police for, the last month. I think, they've done lots of work in my ward regarding moving the cars, illegally parked cars, no insurance, no tax, obstructions and all things like that. They've done also the sweep at Oaklands and surrounding areas regarding, knives and weapon searches and things like that. I'm sure Laura will update us on this. We got the feasibility study, which somebody, Govinda's here to give an update, and Bano. We got Nicola, obviously, she's going to give us an update on the Memorial Hall. We got a celebrating communities funds coming up soon. So I'm going to arrange a meeting for local groups to discuss how we're going to use that money and how we're going to get all the ward involved in that. Andy's got his football team here today, I think, and there's somebody from the UAE, I think, tuned into this meeting. So we're going to be talking about that. Andy, I'll let you come in once I'll bring you in, and we'll talk about the football pitches and the Oaklands. I don't think we got anybody from the Oaklands today. Planning commissions, there were a lot of planning applications on the HMOs, as you know, in the ward now. We've had one successfully rejected in Kathleen Road. So, they have to apply for HMOs now. So every HMO that is coming along in my ward, I'm automatically putting in objections. I'm asking residents to put in objections. Kathleen Road's application has been rejected. The housing application on Berkeley Road, where the old Farrington Club was, that site was in the right state. The fly tipping was, atrocious there. Lee from Berkeley Road, from Dale Grove, and HLB, and John Harris from the HLB, they've worked with me, and we've had the site cordoned off now, and the work has started. The fly tipping has cleared. The old Lucas's site, Shapmore Lane, the work has started on there as well. So, these are some of the issues that I've been dealing with this month. What I will do is I will take any questions, and if people haven't got my written report, and if they want it, I can send it on to them. I usually send it out a week before the meeting, so people have a chance to have a read and ask me any questions. If there are any questions for me, I'll take them. Otherwise, I'll move on to the agenda. I'll pause here for a minute. Okay, so we'll move on. West Midland Police. Laura, are you there?
I'm here. Hello, Councillor.
Okay, if you'd like to update, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, yeah, as Councillor Iqbal's already stated, Adrian's unfortunately been unable to attend today. So I'll just give you some brief updates around what's been happening across the Yardley constituency. I'm not going to go specifically into the ward because I can't. It's very difficult for me to get that data. So at the moment, for West Midlands Police, our priorities continue to be the response to COVID. And then alongside that, and bearing in mind this is for the whole of Birmingham East MPU, the current priorities are gang tensions or suppressing gang tensions, under 25s violence and domestic abuse. Locally, we look more at robberies in Oakland's recreation ground and the surrounding areas, under 25s violence, which kind of comes hand in hand with that, and domestic abuse. To give you a bit of an idea where we're at in terms of crime data for the year to date, we're looking at a 17.3% decrease in robbery, a 29.11% decrease in burglaries, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, there's been almost a 50% increase in domestic abuse incidents within the constituency, and hate crime is also up by about 43%, just shy of 43%. We are continuing to do work into that. So when we say that domestic abuse is one of our priorities as a neighbourhood team, how we intervene with that is by doing some work with people who maybe are repeat victims or repeat offenders of domestic abuse, looking at referring them into partner agencies, and also in securing suspects who have been involved in domestic abuse incidents. So we will conduct the arrest attempts for them. In relation to the robberies and the under 25s violence, hopefully you have seen an increase in police around Oakland's recreation ground, the Yew Tree shopping area, and the Swan Island, which is an area where we continue to see issues. We have got some extra staff who are being paid overtime and things in order to increase the police that we've got in that location, which has helped to actually suppress it, although this month, unfortunately, we've seen some more incidents occurring. So again, we'll push that forward and aim to get more officers within the area. It's a very small increase, I would like to reassure everybody. And the under 25s violence, we're working really closely with a cohort of young people who've been identified as being involved in ASB and potentially other lines of criminality within the area. So we're doing a bit more of an intensive work with them at the moment. Adrian just wanted me to stress that Millennium Point has been coming up recently. I think that's within this ward. So he's actually got officers there to conducting patrols and doing weapon sweeps and things like that as well. And I think last time I was on the meeting, at the last ward meeting, it was raised about untaxed vehicles. We've had a concerted effort from our fantastic PCSOs in relation to that, which has seen us patrolling regularly, particularly around the Wharfdale Road and surrounding areas in Tyseley. And we've had some success in seizing quite a few cars which are not taxed. I think the confusion comes about when people are frustrated that vehicles are parked on the road that aren't insured. However, we have no powers to seize vehicles which aren't insured unless they are being seen to be driven. So that's the only time when we can actually seize them. But untaxed vehicles we can definitely get rid of. And we have some good communications with people within the ward on Twitter who will let us know when there's an untaxed vehicle which needs collecting. I think that about sums it up. If anybody has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Laura. That was a good report. Can I just, on behalf of the residents, thank all the PCSOs who have really worked hard in getting some of the cars, because last meeting, there was a lot of people showing concerns about the vehicles. I'm sure from my ward there were about 7 or 8 vehicles lifted, and the residents were quite pleased with that. And especially the PCSOs, when I found them yesterday, when Lee brought a matter to my attention, and they were very quick to respond to an incident that they attended. So I'm really grateful. I mean, what you said is that I see them during the day when I'm on my walkabouts. The residents see them, so it's really good. But the hate crime going up is a very concerning thing, I think, at the moment. So I'm sure you'll do your best to get to grips with that. Are there any questions? There is from Bono. Is there a question from you to Laura?
Hello, Laura. Yes, I have a question. In fact, I have a concern. I just want to know that why the young people, like teenager people or high school kids, are really encouraged to carry weapons, machetes, and these kind of stuff. That is really dangerous, and they that making other kids who are not in these things, they are scared of these kind of things. So I just want to know that what step you are taking to discourage these people or these activities, because personal experience, I went with my kids to Oakland, and my son said, "Mommy, don't stay here. The boys, I think there were a group of 20 kids, all the like under 20s, and he said that, Mommy, he's having a machete. Didn't you see? Didn't you see? That time, even I don't know what is machete, but when I see in on Google, that was a really, really scary thing. So I just want to know what steps police are taking for safety of the local people.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Councillor, go on.
No, thank you, Bono. I think we got an echo on yours, so you should switch it off. Okay, Laura.
Yeah, so obviously completely understand the concerns of the community in relation to that. And I think you make reference to an image which was shared on social media of a group of males carrying a number of weapons. It's not as common as people make out, although even one person carrying a weapon is obviously of great concern to us as an organisation and to you guys as a community. At the moment, since I've joined the team, because I only joined in September, we've been doing quite a lot of work around ASB within the area, using our policing powers in order to be able to obtain details of young people, but also take them home, educate parents, make parents aware of what they're doing. That's not just ASB powers, we also use our stop and search powers, so we will conduct stop and searches, and we do that regularly, and that is always done legitimately. So we always have our body camera on, and then I review every stop and search which is conducted within the area, so that I know that my staff are working to the absolute optimal of what they are doing, and that everything is done legally and legitimately and proportionately and necessarily. In relation to that particular image, the three males, I think there was 4 males in the image, and then there was one who took it, and 3 of the males were in possession of weapons. That investigation is currently still ongoing, so I can't divulge too much information. However, I can reassure you that they were arrested at the time of the incident, although that was ambiguous from what was disclosed to the media and what was put out on Twitter. They have since been interviewed for the offences of possession of an offensive weapon, and that case now sits with CPS for a charging decision to be made. Once that is done, I will make sure that something's put out in the media to reassure the local community of what we've done, what action we've taken. But please be rest assured, we're not sitting back on our laurels. We are intervening. We are working really hard, not only we've got school liaison officers again as well, who are going into the schools. They're doing a little bit more around knife crime, and they're doing a little bit more work around educating young people around knife crime, but also things like county lines and child criminal exploitation, child sexual exploitation, all of those things that, you know, young people are particularly vulnerable to. So it is a work in progress. We're not going to change it overnight, but we will continue to do the best that we possibly can.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for that full answer. I mean, I walk the Oaklands every single day of the week because obviously I live across the road, and there has been some concern. But as you say, we are addressing the problem. It has been brought up at the East Birmingham Community Partnership as well. So, you know, it has been looked into, and, you know, I see, you know, Ollie, Alex, Amanda, you know, they're always patrolling up there. And, you know, on the Twitter feed, I don't know what is it called, WM now? I think there is if people follow that, they will get a lot of good information from that, and they will see some pictures and things that they're doing. So the public, you know, I mean, I would encourage people to join the WM now. So then you would get the feed from the local. Whenever Alex or Amanda or Ollie up there, they put pictures of saying we are at the park. This is what we're doing. This is what we found. So I would encourage people to maybe join that as well. Any other questions for Laura before she goes off to?
I just had one more thing to add, which I did discuss earlier,
please.
which was around the beggars and the street community within Hay Mills and Tyseley, and obviously along the whole stretch of the Coventry Road corridor. There's some ongoing partnership work between ourselves, the council, the police crime commissioner, and as many stakeholders as we can possibly get within the community. And I'm actually going to do a event which is called Cuppa with a Copper over the next couple of weeks. It sounds terrible with my accent, I apologize, but it's what it's called. So I will pop my email address into the chat function, and if anybody would like to join us on Cuppa with a Copper, or if they'd like more information about WM Now, you can drop me an email and I'll respond to you.
That's great, Laura. Thank you very much for that. If anybody wants Laura's email, it's in the chat, and that's great. Laura, can I thank you for coming and giving us an update? I know you're busy. You can go if you need to go, and if you want to stay, you're more than welcome to stay. Yeah, thank you for that. Moving on to John Dunleavy. John Dunleavy is the housing manager, for our ward. John, are you there?
I am indeed, Councillor.
If you can just, fine, thank you, John. If you can just give us an update on some of the issues that Coppice House and other things that you want to update, and then if there's any question, I'll let you come in. Yeah.
Well, what I'd like to do is just echo much of what Laura's just said, because we've sort of generally we've had an increase in every type of complaint, antisocial behaviour of over 50%. A lot of it is linked to domestic abuse, increase in hate crime, because obviously it comes across to us because we work with the police, but it's people due to whatever reason, hate crime or domestic violence, wanting to move properties. We've got increases in every type of in all our areas, bearing in mind that there are only just over 1,000 Birmingham City Council properties in the Hay Mills and Tyseley ward. It doesn't seem proportionate for the amount of complaints that we're getting. We are now having to regularly work with the partners in the police, but equally partners in children's services, partners in the adults. That's a large part of what we're doing with the adult services, and also with the mental health services and support, alcohol and drug services. We've got probably what I would deem 5 emerging hotspots. Laura's touched on one of them, but we've got others, four others that I would deem fairly quite serious, that will take a lot of time and resources, but equally, other partners have got to come in and do their bit. I think what we're finding during this current crisis is that some of the partners that we would like to come in to help us, and support what we're doing, is they're probably overwhelmed themselves because of the increases in their particular areas, and that I think that's a feature throughout Birmingham, and unfortunately for us, if I'm a manager for 6 wards, Hay Mills and Tyseley are just 2 of them. If you look at where we're situated in Hay Mills and Tyseley, there's an overspill coming in from everywhere else into our outer area boundaries, and this is having a real knock-on effect. It's like when we talk about, the beggars on the Coventry Road. You've only got to go down today, and some people who present as homeless are not homeless. They're actually living in properties within our patches. 2 or 3 of them live quite local. 2 of them are just a bit further away. And it's that type of thing. And you yourself have raised a couple of issues in regards to that we're dealing with. Coppice House is that, we're still in the process of doing the sort of like preparatory work for the installation of the new system. It is going to be installed. The security is in place as long as we need it. I know it keeps going out that it's only going to be to such a date and such a date, but I can assure people that the security is there until we no longer need it. We had an issue this week where several people went that for whatever reason at all, were on site, and I think there was 3 occasions, and unfortunately the security guard was nowhere to be seen. He was having his cup of tea in an office somewhere. In fairness, the manager of the company has now been making on-spot checks, so clearly they will be doing the job that they're paid to do. With Coppice House, I don't think if I'm being honest, I don't think we can win, because the doors were decommissioned last week, Friday night last week, and we're already having complaints this week from a few residents and maybe visitors to the block, is that they're not happy that the doors are being decommissioned and they're not locked. So I'm not sure, how we're supposed to deal with this. All I can assure you is that the security guards are inside the doors. They weren't on Monday on 3 occasions, but they are now, and that will continue as long as they're needed. Just touching on the one with the weapons in that location, it was on Facebook and everywhere. They are rare, but we are working with the police on this matter. But sometimes you have to sort of take a step back and just wonder why, certain individuals are in certain areas, and probably areas they don't live in, and Laura touched on it. It was misrepresented in the press, because clearly as that block is one of my blocks, and I know many of the residents. What was reported is not what their main concerns were, unless there's anything else. There are other individual issues going on within the Pemberley Road blocks, not so much just within the blocks. We're dealing with that. We're dealing with those. They're on an individual basis. In the one area where we've got the support agency, Zafar, the alcohol people, they're working with us to try and solve one of the issues there. But all I can say is that sort of we're not overwhelmed yet, but we're getting there slowly, and clearly we're looking to work with all our partners, to maybe try to nip some of these things in the bud quickly. But we do still have some long-standing issues out there.
Thank you, John. I know, it is very difficult, and I talk to you on a regular basis, and I know how hard the team and yourself and your team work. So, there are issues that we are dealing with, and some you say you can't mention, obviously. Leslie, you got a point? You want to come in? If you unmute yourself. Yeah. Okay.
Hello, Mr. Dunleavy. I'm a resident of Coppice House, and I was one of the people who brought up about the intercom system not working. One thing we have found is, at the end of the block, there's 2 little doors just to allow people to come in and out. Is there any way the handles on the outside of the blocks can be taken off, because people are leaving little stones in the corner, so letting their friends in late at night? It obviously makes it more awkward for your security guards to try to do what they're trying to do, if people can come up the stairwell without even them seeing it. And the second...
Oh, sorry.
After you.
No, I think I know the 2 doors you're on about. I think this was raised by the fire service not so long ago when they had to attend to an issue there. Let me check that out for you, Leslie. I understand where you're coming from, and I know what you mean, but let me check that out first before I commit myself to anything, because I know the fire service have made reference to those 2 doors, but that was to the caretakers. I'm not sure what that conversation was.
Right, and then the second question I've got is, as you know, we've got an aerial fund for the building because we've got masts on top of it. What is the criteria for the people to use the money, and who actually says you can use it on this or you can use it on that? Because at the moment, there's one that's going round that the residents use the money to pay for the first part of Copy House to be painted on the ground floor. I've spoken to several people in the block, and they're saying, really, isn't that a council job when we would like the money spent on other things?
Well, Leslie, to be honest with you, one of my colleagues, we'd done a telephone consultation with over 60 people, and clearly people do have their own opinions on what they want the money spent on. The criteria is for an aerial fund is it should be for the benefit of, and it shouldn't be set a precedent, but if it's something that improves the block or the life of, you know, it's quite technical, but if you want to put it in layman's terms, something that improves the quality of life for the residents, you know, something that you agree with, something that doesn't come under any other sort of heading. But equally, the aerial fund, although it generally is used on the individual blocks, it can be used on the wider blocks if people agree. Now, at the moment, I've seen a lot of the comments and replies to both the telephone and written consultations. If I be honest, when I saw the original written consultation replies, they weren't very helpful. However, looking at the telephone ones, it did raise things that I hadn't thought about, in fairness. And, you know, what we're trying to do at the moment, there was a lot of complaints about the money not being spent last year. And if I'm being honest, I was new to it at that point. I've looked back, and equally, people were sort of deferring one thing, deferring another thing, and nothing ever really got decided. What we're trying to do at the moment now is decide on something where most people, and I'm not saying everybody, but most people agree to, right? And we'll go down that road. Now, at the moment, I don't know if you're one of the people that had a phone call Monday or Tuesday. We've still got a bit of money left, and we're trying to decide how we spend it. Now, jet washing was one recommendation, but we've been open. I mean, this week alone, we've had 3 or 4 phone calls from people who've suggested certain things to us that we probably haven't looked at. But some of the stuff that's coming through, as you know, if we commission work, it's got to be done by weights.
Yeah.
So we have to look at the money. We get just over £6,000 for the aerial fund.
Yeah.
When we're looking at how we're going to spend the money, I'm sitting there with the tenant participation officer saying, well, right, we've got this amount of money. Let's try and get this spent now, but then let's look to next year to see if, you know, some of the work that we can't do this year, can we do it next year with that amount of money? And that's what we're looking at, Leslie. You know, we're trying to make sure that your money is spent appropriately. There are different opinions about some people, like you've just mentioned, does something constitute like it's a repair and that we should be doing it anyway? Clearly, the ones that we've agreed to, we don't feel that sits under that banner. But also what you have to look at is if we want something done and we want it done within, say, a reasonable period of time, we can't be going down something that is not non-essential to the repairs people. We can't be going down or trying that road because it just delays things. And, you know, the normal non-essential repairs 30 days. So basically, I'm satisfied at this moment in time that what we've so far agreed to is within the criteria, but we're still looking for ideas, and we've still got 3 weeks left.
That's, I must admit, Mr. Dunleavy, that's absolutely great, because by the sound of it, finally, a lot of the residents are going to be thinking we're going in the right direction. Like, you will come across it in the next few days, maybe. I've requested that, as you know, we've got a Sky system in the block for Sky TV. It's absolutely not being nasty, it's defunct, because it's the old Sky HD box. So when I moved in, I said to Sky, could you put me Sky in? And they said, well, no, we can't, Mr. Ingley, because we only use Sky Q now. But because you're a long-standing customer, we will get your box and we'll install it. but you've got to pay Sky Q prices. And I said, fair enough. And I asked one of your colleagues, I won't say his name, could it be upgraded or used as part of the budget for? And my flat answer was no.
Right. I'm not sure of that conversation.
No, you wasn't doing your job at that time. You was obviously working somewhere else in the city.
No, but what I can do, because I would never want to give out tough information, especially when it's been recorded. So if you leave that with me, I'll check that for you, Leslie. There's not a problem at all.
Yeah, because I know there's, I would say, at least 7 people in the block who would like some of the money to be used to upgrade the system. Because I've spoke to Sky and they've said it's quite an easy upgrade, but it's going to cost money.
Is this the upgrade that they say if you got a code, it costs £50 a time?
No. Basically, what it is, from what I've been told, I'm no expert, it's to do with the dish. The dish is incapable of carrying Sky Q. So if
right, yeah. No, they have this in the city centre blocks, the Cambridge blocks, yeah. Right, leave that with me, Leslie, and I'll find out.
Okay. Thank you, Leslie. That was really useful questions you put to John. Just on the area point, before we had these virtual meetings, we used to have meetings in the block, in the common room. So unfortunately, those meetings stopped, and I used to attend every one of them. And then we had change of staff, and as you know, Bernie passed away and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So what I was keen to do was that, and I said this to John in my monthly meeting with him, that I don't want the money not spent again. So they kindly took the task of phoning every residence and talking to putting the surveys out. So what John has just explained is that's where we are at the moment. But they open to suggestions, so we will look into it again and we will update in the future meetings as well. So Andy, did you want to ask a question to John? Your hand was up.
Yeah, so I think you're quite lucky if you've got a house in Yardley at the moment. I'm very concerned about the very high number of people living in Yardley in temporary accommodation. And, we've got hundreds of families with kids that we're having to feed and we're having to look after, that are in the hotels and in the guest houses along the Coventry Road. And I just wondered if there's a long-term plan for that at all.
Andy, it is part of, and the councillor may be aware or will be aware, it's the temporary accommodation comes under the Homes Options team, part of housing. There is what they call a robust review going through at the moment, because there are, I think, over, without looking at the figures in detail, over 1,500 people who are in those types of accommodation. That does not account for the people who are probably in what we call licensed properties, where somebody may own a property, we lease it off them, and also sometimes it's not clear if some of the people who then eventually get dispersed from those properties, whether they're going into what we call the exempt accommodation properties. So realistically, the whole thing needs to be looked at, because most of the people you will find in temporary accommodation are ones where are a large percentage of where there is a homeless duty that's owed to them, but for various reasons they may not qualify to be on the housing register. Now that is work that's ongoing at the moment, but you're quite right. I mean, if you were to look at sort of some of the places you mentioned are now no longer taking Birmingham City Council, people for temporary accommodation, but there's still a lot there. And I know from my own experience, based sort of where we're Kings Road, how many that we over the last 12 months have had to house on an emergency basis in the Sheldon, the airport, and the city centre travel lodges. But the answer to your question, Andy, there is a big piece of work going on at the moment.
Thank you, John. Lee, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you, Lee.
All right, John. I've got big issues still by me, John, as you're well aware. The other day, I've got people taking drugs. You know what they're saying about the doors being left open and what by me? The people by me, I had to run people off the other day from the drugs being taken by me. It's getting worse. I have done a video of them, John, you know what I'm saying, again. But what I'd ask is, the doors are continuously left open by me. So it happens all night long. They're coming, shouting, causing a right disturbance. But because we know of these issues, and I understand what we've been under, but why, there's things kept in the doorways there, you see. But Birmingham, you and Birmingham City Council know about these issues, but nothing seems to be looked at, if that's the way I'm looking at it, you know what I'm saying? Because they're still open, and you know, there's all crap in the I'm going to say crap, and I'm saying maybe the wrong word, in the actual, you know, communal areas to keep these doors open. But I don't know how we can stop it, but surely somebody from Birmingham City Council should be monitoring these issues.
Well, Lee, you know, we're working on this one, and we do know the situation with the doors, but unfortunately, you know, whatever way you look at it, we can't be there 24/7 when they're wedging these doors open. You know, sometimes you can drive past and you can see the doors are wedged open. But as I said to you, you know, I won't go into individual cases. We are working on this one. I think when you do report it, you know, like that last one where there was rubbish on the veranda type roof.
Yes.
We will try and get that done, or Derek tries to get it done as quick as possible. Some of the other issues are not as straightforward. We know what we need to do. We're dealing with them.
Yeah, I'm having this problem, you see, because, you know, if I report things to the police, I've got a report. I've got Laura's email address now, so I will be emailing Laura because I reported it through 999 because there was a problem going on. They said, oh, they'll get the community, you know, like people to come out to see me. I'm still waiting from the last time. The first time I reported it was December. I'm still waiting for that. So I understand we're under a you know, but it's starting to take my mental health now, you know what I mean? Because of what's going on, it just seems like in my circumstance, I understand that you've taken over my issue halfway through, I'm going to call it, you know what I'm saying? Because your predecessor as dealing with it, it just seems a very, you know, long-winded process, if I'm going to say, you know what I mean? And I have said this to you before, but I just thought I would bring it up to you again. By any means, I have got this, as I said, I've recorded it. So if you need that, I am willing to give you that as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks for that, Lee.
Thanks, John. I'll have to move on now because, you know, we've got another 15-20 minutes left and I've got a few things on the agenda. Leslie, you still got your hand up?
Yes, please, Zafar. Just the last one from Mr. Dunleavy.
Okay, quick one, please.
Yeah. Mr. Dunleavy, can we make sure that the residents can still use this kind of fob? Because the simple fact, I know we're going to have problems if these don't work. It's the remote control type.
Thank you.
Lee, that they will be a remote control type of sorts. I'm not too sure on what the new system's going to be, but most Cotronic systems now, that's how they do operate.
Does that actually open, like for myself? Mine actually opens the door for me automatically because I've got a disability. Will that one do it, or would it be like the little round teardrop thing?
With the new systems, I understand that they can be set up differently, can't they? Because don't forget, the system you've got at the moment, I don't know how many years it's been there, but it's old anyway. But the new systems, they can be programmed separately. You know your fob?
Yeah.
It can be programmed separately. And
brilliant.
I'm sure that that's what is going to happen.
Because I just don't want it to happen to like everybody say, oh, well, it doesn't work. And so like it comes back to you again. We start all over again.
No. It's no. I'll be just happy, Leslie, when it's when we actually get the door system in and, you know, everything's working and the intercoms are working, you know, because it's you know, and by that, hopefully by that time, you know, it'll just finish off the block. Everything will look nice.
Billy, last one. Could you possibly put your email address in the chat box for me, Mr. Dunleavy?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Thank you very much.
I've been getting your emails, Leslie, anyway.
Oh, have you? Oh,
yeah,
nice
yeah,
one.
they've been forwarded to me. So what I'll do is I'll reply to one of your emails with it on for you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dunleavy.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Leslie and John. I'm sorry to rush you, but I really need to get moving now. So moving on to the next one, can I bring in Cllr, Tom's, and give us an update on the arts in the yard and the memorial hall, please? Cllr?
Yeah, thank you, Zafar, and thank you everyone for inviting me to come and speak. My name's Cllr. I'm part of the team at Arts in the Yard. You might have heard of us. We are the local arts forum for the constituency of Yardley, which also covers Tyseley and Hay Mills. We've been working in that area for a number of years. We have some of our members live in the area. So Banu is part of our team who lives in Hay Mills and has spoken earlier. We're responsible for the revitalised planters that are down the Coventry Road, which I'm sure that you've already seen. And last year we started having conversations with St Cyprian's Church to help them run the Memorial Hall. I'm sure you're all aware that the Memorial Hall is on the Hay Barns retail park. It's next to the food warehouse, which is the old Next building. And so that effectively is the church's church hall. And we've been speaking to them about helping them to run the space because they have a smaller congregation now and a lot of their members are older. They've asked us to help them run the space. So the first thing that we've done is apply to the Veolia Fund, and luckily we've been awarded £50,000 to refurbish that building. So the refurbishment work will include improvements to the kitchen, improvements to the toilets, improvements to heating and ventilation, some work on lighting and electrical, a new fire alarm system, new flooring, and a few other little bits and pieces. So we want to say a big thank you to Viola for awarding us that funding. In order to draw down that £50,000, we've had to find a company that can pay 10% landfill tax, and Webster and Horsfall and Tyseley Energy Park have just agreed to pay that 10% fee for us. And then we're putting in a little bit of money, so are Inspired Steps, and so is the church itself. So we hope that this refurbishment work starts probably after Easter now. We're just finalising the paperwork and some contracts. And we hope that the work is done sort of as quickly as possible, really, within 3 to 6 months, so that as COVID hopefully subsides and the community is allowed to start gathering together in indoor spaces, that we have a refurbished, a new and vitalised space at Memorial Hall. And at that point, Arts in the Yard will then become the day-to-day managers of that space. So if local groups do want to book it, you would come direct to Arts in the Yard. And we will be working with local groups and residents so that we have a sort of sliding scale. But if you've got ideas of things that you would like to help run in that space, then we would really like to hear from you. My email address is in the chat, and Zafar can always put you in touch with me. Is that enough, Zafar?
Yeah, I'm sure that if there are any comments or questions, but can I thank you for all the hard work that your organisation, Arts in the Yard, and you personally put into this, and Inspired Steps and Tyseley Energy Park, and all the people who work towards getting this. This is a very important, I think, for Hamer. This is a very important, step. And if we get the building refurbished and we can get all the things doing, I think it'll be a great asset for the community, a great and all the efforts that you have put in. I just want to say thank you to everybody. Are there any questions? Somebody's raised their hand. Lee?
I'd just like to say You're doing a great job. You know what I mean? All arts in the yard and everything. And I can only, you know, congratulate you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee, and thank you for helping us deliver our newsletters, actually. Thank you to you and your daughter, I think. Also, I forgot to say, sorry, my brain's gone now, it's 7:30. I forgot to say that a couple of days ago, we did also have notification from City Council Culture Development Team. We've put in an application, it's only smallish, for another £10,000 to develop another piece of artwork that lives in Hay Mills and Tyseley. And in the application, we've written that we would want it to live either inside or outside at Memorial Hall to kind of celebrate the refurbishment. So news on that to follow. We don't quite know what that will look like, but knowing us, it will be something very vibrant and eye-catching, and another additional thing to kind of maybe think about starting an art trail in Hay Mills. Yeah.
Thank you, Nicola. That was really. Any other questions for Nicola? No? Okay. So, you know, the other thing that I was going to say about the, you know, the S106 money that we already spent in Hay Mills and Arts in the Yard I've taken, I will have a report for that in the next meeting, because this was a packed agenda. I didn't want Sylvia to come and, you know, give us another report on this. So the planters on the Coventry Road and all the things that are going around, I'm sure Sylvia will come and update us in the next meeting. So following on from that, you know, we got the Hay Mills feasibility study going on at the moment, or arts survey that's done by Guminda and Bano. So can one of you please come and update us on that? Guminda? No? Oh,
yeah, I can do that.
Thank
yeah.
you.
It just follows on actually from what Nicola's been saying, because it fits in really nicely. That we're working with, I'm representing number 11 Arts, and we're working with Arts in the Yard, who are the local arts forum, that they come under the umbrella of number 11 Arts. Just a brief history on that. But over the past 7 weeks, Banu has been involved, and Andy as well. So I've got to say thank you to Andy, because he's been helping us with the questionnaires. So what we've done is, firstly, it's a feasibility of money that we got from the local authority to look at a project that we could run in Hay Mills as part of the Commonwealth Games for 2022. So in order to do that, we had to ensure that it was co-designed with the local people, so that Banu and Sidra and Nazia and Sylvia have all been part of that. And Councillor Zafar joined us at the last meeting, but Andy's also been a major part actually of this. We sent out over 200 hard copy questionnaires, and quite a lot via email, and we received 106 questionnaires back, which in this current climate, I've got to say, has been fantastic, and that's full credit to everybody that's been involved. And the major part of that is that 85% of people have said they want an event to happen, and they half of them were wanting it in an open air event, and we had a number of people said they would like it over a weekend or over a number of consecutive days. There was a good representation from the Pakistani community. It was basically about half and half from the white residents, so that's a good representation of the feedback that we had. And I've got to say that the ideas now are being developed to look at what kind of things that we can do. We've worked with Sandy from Webster and Horsfall, who actually has put us in contact with Richard and David, and also Emily from Tyseley, to actually see what support they could also give, because Webster and Horsfall have celebrated their 300-year history, and they've got an exhibition at Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery, and due to COVID, that's been put on hold, but they're looking for a place where they could actually house that. So that's quite interesting. But we are also looking at a number of events that could formulate as part of a trail. And tomorrow I'm going to be offering some options of the kind of things that can happen, but I would also like a lot more feedback from people, and if people would be like to be involved. So I've put my name in the chat and my details, but also you can get hold of Banu as well. Banu, shall I put it over to you and you can actually say the kind of things that you've been doing as part of this?
Hello. Yes, Gurminder, thank you so much for having me here for this conversation. Yes, as I am a local resident and been living for 5 years in Hay Mills, and as you know that all the people talk about Hay Mills and Tyseley, that this area is this, and with everything, every bad thing is increasing and the good things are very limited. And when they even police and other people said, and when they said this, I don't know, but I feel really insulted. And this is a situation for quite so many years. And as a local resident, as a speaker or representative of my local community, I feel that there are some things that are missing. I am not a policy maker and I am not suggesting anything that should be happened, but for as a personal opinion, I would say that there are lack of good opportunities like jobs and so many other things that is lack of in Hay Mills and Tyseley. And I think this is a time that good things should be happen in Tyseley, because we are human being, we are living in this area for so long and waiting good things should be happened. So when the this survey feasibility survey Commonwealth Game celebration project come to me, and I said that yes, definitely I want to work on it. And personally I spoke to the local resident. I think more than 90 people I have personally spoke and visit their homes and explained why we are doing this survey. And the response was really positive, and yes, people want to see good things here and celebration as well. So I am quite hopeful and encouraging other people that the celebration should be in Hay Mills and Tyseley in next year. And let's see what is Gurminder suggests tomorrow, and then I will update if I am invited for the next meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bana. Thank you, Gwinder. Is there any questions for Gwinder or Bana that people are, or they put the details in the chat, or you can contact me and I will forward your suggestions or comments to them. Sorry, camera keeps going up. Okay, I can't see any hands up. So thank you, Gwinder and Bana, for that presentation. Andy, did you want to, we're on the news from residents now, so if you want to come in, Andy, and your football team, I think there is some people here from your football team, and there's somebody from UAE who's joined us as well, so welcome.
Yeah, some of them have gone because they're not used to this sort of meeting. It's not the most interesting at times, but yeah, as you know, the Oaklands was going to put on some, as part of the redevelopment, there were going to be some new football pitches. We got to the bottom of that recently, that it was the wrong type of mud and the grass wouldn't grow, but they have promised us to put a pitch somewhere else on the Oaklands. And as you know, over the last 3 years we've built up a youth football club with over 200 young people attending in normal times, and we've been promised this football club, and I just wondered if we could have an update. And you know, it's been promised to be open by the 29th of March, and is that actually going to happen, and are they going to deliver it, and how long that football pitch is going to be there for?
Thank you. Thanks, Andy. Thank you to Noshin, who's from the UAE. She says she has to sign off now because it's getting really late there. So we've taken note of your comments in the box. Andy, you know, I did put a bit on my report because, you know, for this meeting, I asked Mike Hinton to update me on what was happening with the football pitches. And what he wrote was, on the football pitches, they are being inspected on a regular basis, but at the moment they are too wet to do the earthquaking. The soil needs to be dry. As soon as conditions permit, this will be done. And then it talks about the cricket ball. So what I promise to you is that in the next meeting, I will get an update, and I will get Mike Hinton to come to this meeting and give a full update on where we are with the pitches. And you know what I will do tomorrow morning is I will send him an email, and I will ask him the questions you've asked. And as soon as I get an update, I will forward it to you. Yeah.
I mean, because it's a year now that,
Yeah.
you know, and the muds are wrong. It's too wet. It's too, you know, and young people still need these football pitches, and people have complained about knife crime and crime on the park and everything else, but are we actually going to do anything positive for our young people in Yardley? And to be honest, it's just not good enough. It's just excuse after excuse after excuse. And next they'll be saying, oh, the football season's over, which it now doesn't. It doesn't end till the 29th of June, but they'll be saying that, and then, you know, I just don't believe it'll ever happen. So.
Yeah. But as you know, Andy, I'm very passionate about those football pitches, and it's a local. I know the great work you do, and you know, the school and the community centre. I have to say that, you know, because of this COVID, I've been inundated with, you know, other things, and you know, I've let it slip a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get back onto the case tomorrow morning, yeah, and I will do the chasing, and I will do, you know, some investigating. Hopefully, you know, those pitches, you know, I mean, if they're back into use, that's 100% right. That, you know, the more the park is used, the more the pitches are used, the cricket square is used, you know, the gyms are used, the less, you know, people will gather around there with antisocial behaviour and all that. So I totally agree with you. So leave that with me. I will get I'll do an email to Mike tomorrow morning, and I will get an update, and I will try to push for them to be open this season. Yeah.
And can you tell him we're not going away? Because we'll be back.
I think Andy, I think he knows that. Okay.
I think Fatten wants to speak about the crossing wardens.
Who wants to speak about the crossing wardens?
Fatten.
Yeah. Can you come in?
Hi, Zafar. It's Fatten. I'm one of the Hub Council leaders for Oasis Hub Moor, and we seem to have lost our traffic wardens for the school.
Okay.
So either if you want to let us know what we can do about it as a Hub Council, obviously we're going to push that forward, or what you can help us to actually get them back, because the kids have gone back to school and there's no traffic wardens.
Okay. Traffic wardens, or you mean the crossing wardens?
Yeah.
The crossing wardens.
There was one at just outside Wash Lane, you know, and there's the other one which is around the corner just by the actual entrance at Hobmore.
I will pick that up. I'm not. I mean, I'm not aware why they're not there. So what I will do is I will make a note of that, and I will get an answer to you as soon as I can. I'll make some inquiries on that. Yeah. Okay. So will you come back to me, or either Andy or the school? I will let Andy know. If you put your email address in the chat box, what I'll do is I'll let you know. Yeah. If you put your details into the chat box, I'll pick them up from there. And then I'll put my email address on there as well. Yeah, and I will reply to you directly. Okay, brilliant. Thank you for your comments. Lee? Thank you.
I did go past there today, and there was one, you know, lollipop lady or whatever you want to call her, you know what I mean, there. So I'm not sure, because it used to be one lady, but there was another one there today.
There used to be a regular one, but I don't know what's happened to her. But there used to be two. There needs to be one wash lane and one actually on Hobmore Road itself, because they're both very busy areas.
Yeah, I mean, they were.
And it's near the roundabout as well.
Yeah, they were, you know, for St. Benedict, so I'm a governor there as well.
Yeah.
So we had two down the bottom of the roundabout and two at the top of the roundabout. So you're exactly right. There were 4 people every morning. I mean, I used to, but I'm not sure why. Is it because of COVID or is it because of something else? But I can't really give you a reply unless I really checked it out first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some checks on this, investigate, and then come back to you directly. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Any other residents who want to say things or give any information or ask any questions? I'll take it now. Okay, so can I just thank everybody who's attended the Vote Forum tonight, the residents, the people who came to speak at the meeting, who presented. We've just gone 10 minutes over the meeting, so I'm really grateful for everybody turning up. So once again, in the next meeting, I will let everybody know when the meeting is, and then we will send out the links again for the next meeting. Can I thank everybody, officers as well, for turning up. So I will say good night to everybody. Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody. Take care.
Good night. Thank you.